Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Wisdom, the Akim, Akwaf, throughout the four corners of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth to the gospel, Lord Amashak Yahweh Shai, in these days and times, Bramnasha DC Camp, shout blessing for the hopeful elect. What you see on the screen is one of those trials that we heard of some time ago about hearsay, regarding the report that some bounty was put on the head of this Ice Brothers, Mr. Vino. Yeah, so it came as a result of Snapchat, and then you have the gossip and all that stuff, and then you have an informant in there. That's why it's necessary. You have to be spiritual and keep your conversation restricted, to the bare minimum. All right, when you are around the people of this world, man, because we gotta be careful. We gotta be observant and vigilant. You know, you might say some things out of anger and out of ignorance, and then you try to correct it, but it's not always going to be the case that you have that opportunity. So, you know how it is in this world, man. You always have a person that would like to take an opportunity to gain some brownie points with the system of Esau, and that's what you see in this case. All right, so I'm going to read a quick precept. It's going to be from the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 17. And then it will be from verses 27 and 28. It says, "He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit." All right. So that's why it's very necessary, to keep yourself educated. Continue to build up your skills in this ministry, man. The more you learn, the better off, your interactions will become. Because you're not just led by the flesh, you're not led by your emotions. You're led by the Spirit of the Lord, the Mashak Yahweh Shai, and you have your faith and integrity, to back it up, including your actions. So you just have to understand that your words are precious, and you have to learn how to, control the supply. You just don't be a talkative. You're not brought into this ministry to be giving speeches, to be giving introductions and forewords and closing remarks and all that stuff. Make your points according to the scriptures, according to current events, and leave it at that. Keep it as spiritually professional as much as possible, all right? And then it says, "And the man of understanding is of an excellent spirit." So that's what you get. That's the reward of being a person, being a servant that seeketh understanding, your excellency, the brightness of your understanding will continue to glow, It brightens, Proverbs 4:18, so brighter and brighter, your faults become discovered, in the middle of your meditations, and then you know how to fix that, all right? And then it says in verse 28, Proverbs 17 and 28, "Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. So remember that, man. Knowledge, understanding, they go hand in hand. So you can't just ignore, these precepts, man. They are your ultimate shield against all these bug outs here, man. Because, folks are going to be weighing your words in the balance. Folks would like to twist your words. So you have to learn the the value of limiting your words to the point without adding anything unnecessary. All right, so I play the news report, and then from there I get some more precepts.
Walking into the courtroom today, Adrian Jimenez took his place as the government's star witness, the man on the receiving end of the Snapchat message that led to this entire prosecution. Jimenez admitting to being a longtime government informant who has been paid for his information in the past, but he says not this time. Playing a portion of his recorded interview for the court today, prosecutors showed Juan Espinosa Martinez repeatedly denying that he had ever intended to put a hit on Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino. I'm not hiring anybody. I don't know anybody who does that. I've never done anything like that.
Yeah, so this is what you're gonna see more in the news, that officers are facing all types of death threats and doxing and all that stuff and harassment. And then you're going to hear that they are being obstructed from carrying out their federal mandated duties, obligations, and all that stuff. And it's going to become a talking point that they'll be repeating on the news on a daily, hourly basis, man. Before the truth comes out, they've already, put a lie out there in all this media, media agencies, man. These reports and all that stuff about any encounter. And then when you wait, you see that the story is not exactly as reported. So that's the reason why you have to learn how to be patient in the spirit. Don't be so quick to make a response just because something happened. So you see how the system is organized. It's basically orchestrated with all types of traps. You're gonna have all these so-called informants at all levels in society. The so-called neighbor, the so-called colleague, either on the construction site. It could be one of the passengers during the regular commute. It could be your Uber driver, your Uber passenger. It could be a customer at a grocery store. You know how it is, man. It could be a journalist. So it's just a system of dog eat dog, man. So that's how the elites want to stay in power. They have to have people turn on themselves to you know be one so-called step ahead. That's the reason why they have to cause what do you call it? Have an environment of entrapment, an environment of deception. They have to put out an incentive, to the shallow-minded, to continue to be what do you call it? An informant. Is that clear? When you continue to look at all these situations, not just this case, but other cases. They won't put it in the movies for you. All these shows, so you know exactly what the game is all about. That's how the elites stay in power. Constant spying and all that stuff. It's a worldwide enterprise. So you have to learn how to, be observant of traps like that. So the book of Jeremiah 9 and 4 says, take ye heed every one of his neighbor, and trust ye not in any brother, for every brother will utterly supplant, and every neighbor will walk with slanders. All right. So this informant says that he was getting paid. Other instances of the information he was passing up the ladder to his circle handlers, but in this case, he didn't get paid. Who knows if he got paid in advance? Who knows what type of privileges he's getting? You know, so you just have to be cautious. You have to be extremely vigilant, man. Your words, your words, your words, your words, man. Your words. You have to treat them like the what you call a precious commodity. Something you guard in the vault. With a high, high level of security. A highly, guarded vault. That's how you should treat your words and your thoughts. Because you have bug outs among our people, man, that just want to enjoy the comforts of this world and throw whoever they can under the bus of tyranny. Okay, so we get another precept. It's gonna be from the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 2 and verse 6. This is just an advice from the Lord to our forefather Ezekiel, and that also applies to us. And thou son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words. Though briars and thorns be with thee, and thou dost dwell among scorpions, be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. So you have to know the terrain in which you operate in. It tells you, the Lord has already made clear to us that you dwell among the people that will throw you under the bus, inside the volcano, into the mouth of the shark, into the mouth of the whale, to throw you into the mouth of the wild dogs, the wild animals. So you have to learn how to move among them. Shah talks about be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. So you have to know, your environment, man, because people always looking for that ace in the hole, man. To one up on you at any point in time. So you have to keep that on your mind at all times, man. It's not as if you're being paranoid, but it's just the nature of the environment you find yourself in. All right.
Said Espinosa as he answered investigators' questions on October the 4th, a day after being arrested for sending this Snapchat message to a construction company owner he occasionally did work for. $2K on information when you get him, $10K if you take him down.
Yeah, so that's the Snapchat information that was sent, that was shared. You know how it is, man. When you get a post, just don't go around spreading it around. If it's not your words, don't take it as you don't put your name on it, man. Just leave it as it is. That's what happens when folks always jump on these breaking news, man, and then you end up have to come out and correct it. So it's very, very important. Wait, let the dust settle, and then that's just how it is, man. When the scripture tells you about, you have to examine a matter before you make a judgment. So that should be a constant practice we engage in. It takes practice, repetition, to be able to get to that level of making sound judgments. All right. Now we're gonna get from the book of James. James chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. It says, "Even so, the tongue is a little member, boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth." Yeah, so this is what happens, A little 5-second text, 10-second text. Now a person has to go before the court to argue his case, to plead his innocence. So that's how bad it can get, you know. And you know how it is, man. You have to weigh the costs, weigh the costs of your activities, man. Even in this ministry, you know exactly what you're signing up for. You know you're coming up against the workers of darkness, the rulers of this world, the elite. You're coming up against them with the words of the Lord. And you know how it is, man. You have a foundation, a sure foundation, a sure word of prophecies to stand on. And the ultimate contention will be when they want to put hands on you, you know. They want to drag you into their court system, and then they will seek to unalive you. So that's one of the things, those are the things that you always remember on a daily basis, man. That's the reason why you pray that you don't fall into the traps of emotional distress because of living in society. It takes a toll on you, so you have to pray that you don't fall, you don't break, you don't snap. All right, whatever situation you find yourself in. So you just have to be cautious, So when you hear about things falling apart in Babylon, you have to scrutinize your actions, man. You have to scrutinize your approach, because you're putting yourself under the microscope, and you have to realize that, the time of Jacob's trouble is gaining so much steam, and you have to learn how not to get caught up at the bottom of the barrel. All right, so keep that part, as your main focus. So James 3 and 6 says, "And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell." So that's just how bad it is, man. When ignorance becomes bliss, ignorance becomes the ultimate treasure, then things are gonna go, down the drain. People are running closer to the grave. They're running to put themselves in a tough spot, without proper consideration. So, yeah, man, that's what's killing a lot of people. That's what's throwing a lot of people into the dungeons of embarrassment, dungeons of shame. So now you have the case of betrayal. Between two Jakes, man. That's the reason why you have to be aware of what you're dealing with. Just like our forefather Moses, he found himself attempting to do good to save his fellow Israelites' life, and what did he get in return? So that's the reason why you have to learn to be patient in the spirit. So in that moment, you realize that he messed up, but the Most High had to show him the big picture. Why settle for one when you can gain all? So that's just how it is. it's like a double-edged sword. You know, the Lord had to make our forefather Moses reflect that even though he was justified in that moment, but in the long run, it was a foreshadow of things to come. That you have to take down a whole nation, around the nation of oppressors, just to deliver his people. And what did our forefather Moses get in return? Murmuring and backbiting and disrespect. So in this ministry, expect that to happen to you. So you have to let the Lord's plan, pan out, let it play out. Okay. So that's the daily drama you're going to have to be exposed to, even though you may not be the person of interest in the conversation, but at least you're aware of what's happening around you. All right. So the book of Sirach, chapter 22, and 22 says, "If thou hast opened thy mouth against a friend, fear not, for there may be a reconciliation." All right. So this is not always gonna happen, man. It's a limited set of incidents where this can be possible, reconciliation. All right. Except for upbraiding or pride or disclosing of secrets or a treacherous wound, for these things every friend will depart. So you know that there's a limit, man. There's a limit to situations among the brotherhood, man. You have to learn how to stay in your lane spiritually. Stay in your lane on a so-called you know earthly level. Don't be overindulging in welfare checks, man. Don't be a so-called talebearer. All right, it's not everything that a brother disclosed to you that you have to mention. Over here, over there, and over there, and over here. Don't try to make it your business to be a social worker, man. Your job is not to be a social worker in this ministry, man. Always compiling reports on brothers' lives, efficiencies and deficiencies, and all that stuff. You have to maintain a level of secrecy, just like the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. He knows the deepest parts of our minds, and what does he do? He keeps that confidential. Yeah, so that's the beauty of the Lord. The scripture talks about, "Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect." All right. So yeah, you just have to realize, man. Don't try to be excited, to disclose matters that are way beyond your personal realm. Okay, so just take that with a grain of salt, because friendship, friendship is something that you have to weigh in the balance. You have to look at the opportunity cost, man. Yeah, because friendship is a commodity you don't just want, disregard. You don't want to, how you say it, discard your resources, man. You may not be on the same page as a person, 100% of the time, but when it counts the most, you want that person to be available. So you just have to learn to deal with the world, but don't abuse it. Okay. So another precept would be from the book of Colossians. Yeah, book of Colossians, chapter 4, verses 5 and 6. It says, "Walk in wisdom to them that are without, redeeming the time." So you have to examine yourself, operate in wisdom, operate with vigilance, be circumspect, among the folks that are not in this ministry, your family members, your colleagues, people you find around you that are not part of the preaching of this gospel, okay? And you have to redeem the time. Folks are looking for the opportunity, man, to receive a gift card from the government because of their so-called voluntary services. They're looking for what they call it a reward. Just like when they put out APB, they put out a reward and a sum for information to resolve a case. You have folks like that, they're ready to receive that reward, man. No matter how small it is, they want to have it. All right. Now, verse 6, Colossians 4 and 6. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man. So, you always understand the way you respond to a brother, is going to be different the way you respond to the folks on the plantation, your family members. There's certain phrases, there's certain understanding that you have to bring to the situation that you find yourself. Okay, just like which I said, give not that which is holy unto the dogs. So you have to practice, those words of wisdom. You have to let it be anchored to your soul. All right. So you have to know exactly the personalities you have around you. You basically becoming what we call a so-called profiler. You're becoming a behavioral scientist when you're out there in the world, man. You understand people's spirits, man. You understand their character. So you have to know that all these folks, man, they're like folks you have in the HR department. They're always looking for something to put in your file. So, be cautious, all right? Be cautious in the spirit. Now we get to another precept. It's going to be from the book of Proverbs chapter 6. It tells you clearly. In fact, but, I would like to skip it, but I'm just going to read a few from it. Proverbs 6 and 16. These 16s that the Lord Yahweh shall hate. Yes, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. Okay, so this is the whole system of Esau, man. Discord, discord and deception, murder, lies and all that stuff, man. So that's the reason why Esau's empire is falling apart, man. Because when the truth, begins to reveal itself, begins to make its way around Esau's empire, Esau's kingdom, everything starts to fall apart because the heat, can also be likened to the truth. Can also be likened to the word of the Lord. So when the word of the Lord is making its round, throughout Esau's kingdom, all that glue that is used to hold it together, is melting, is falling apart, and that's why they're scrambling to come against the word of the Lord. They have to build that dragnet. They have to build that machinery, to come against the man of the Lord. So in due season, you're gonna see, their approach, their attack, and then the heat is gonna turn up more. Then you're gonna see the power of Yahweh Shemashai's truth. Okay, so yeah, just be ready for that. Now, the book of Galatians, chapter 2 and 4. It says, and that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in to privily spy out our liberty, which we have in Hamashiach Yahushai, that they might bring us into bondage. All right, so that's what happens. You have to be aware that folks will fold, man. You know, just like you have folks that are planted, to claim that they're preaching the gospel. The day, you're gonna see that their whole purpose was to mislead, to create an image of deception, and to also, you know, spill the beans against brothers onto their so-called masters. The system of Esau, the system of the serpent. All right. Yeah. So you have to be careful in the spirit. All right. See what else they have in this report.
LK on him. The message, accompanied by a picture of Bovino, forms the basis of the government's prosecution of Espinosa, who is charged with one count of murder for hire. LK, by Espinosa's own admission, means Latin kings, but sending the Snapchat is not enough to convict.
This case turns almost entirely on the question of intent. Did this defendant intend to solicit murder?
Because Snapchat messages disappear, investigators have no follow-up to that message, only the one picture of the
Yeah, well, some American Snapchat messages disappear. All that stuff is recorded. All that stuff is recorded, man. So, that's a situation you have to be aware of, man.
telephone screen provided by their witness, defense attorney Dina Singer, eliciting this exchange on cross-examination. "You're not someone who commits murder for hire, right?" asked Singer. "No," responded Jimenez. "Juan never said to you, 'Hey, why don't you go do this?' asked Singer. "No," answered Jimenez. The prosecution's case has been made much more difficult after Judge Lefkoe forbade.
Yeah, so when you look at the situation, it's hilarious. The so-called Spanish names, Juan and Jimenez, they mean, you already know, John and James. Yeah, man. So that's the names of Yahushua's disciples. So yeah, man, you gotta be be cautious, man. You know, you gotta be cautious, man. So the Most High has a way of revealing these things before us, so that we understand, what's going on in the background.
From asking Espinosa Martinez about any gang affiliation or even affinity. This after the government, which initially claimed the 37-year-old was a ranking member of the Latin Kings, backed off that premise entirely. In court today, prosecutors did introduce several additional messages and social media posts in which Espinosa is clearly referring to immigration enforcement operations in Chicago. In one, he appears to be alluding to the bounty on Bovino, but only indirectly.
It's an aggressive case for sure, and I think the government's taking a greater risk with this case than it often does. There's not a lot of corroboration. There's no follow-up. There's not a lot of witness testimony.
Now, while Espinosa Martinez has never denied sending the message, he has insisted from the beginning that he was just repeating neighborhood gossip.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, after the trial was completed, he had to be acquitted. So he was found to be innocent of all charges brought against him. But that doesn't mean that the government will not put him on their radar. So that's the whole situation. So that's the drama we have to deal with. Okay, Matthew chapter 10, verse 18. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. So Yahweh has already given us the blueprint ahead of time of what to expect. So you can imagine you're working off a plan that is always going to keep your mind focused on the opportunity to stay on the right path. All right. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Yeah, so it's a tough, it's tough, to put your flesh in subjection to the word of the Lord, man, because your flesh is always want to have its own say. That's why you need to have rule over your spirit. Okay, the spirit of the Lord has to rule over you, so that you don't misspeak. All right, for it is not you that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death. Yeah, so when the economy falls apart and everything is going down the drain, you can imagine what people would do for a loaf of bread, for candy, for diapers, for medication. It could be insulin, it could be antidepressants, and all that stuff. It could be Tylenol. People will sell each other out for a tablet of Tylenol. Yeah, a bottle of wine and all that stuff. Silver, gold, gift cards. So it's a weird society. You don't want to be part of it. But you gotta pray that the Most High, Yahweh Shemashai, gets gets you out of it, man. We're in the jaws of destruction, right? And then verse 22, Matthew 10:22, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. So that's the whole journey we have to go through, man. The course of persecution has been laid out before us. Now we know what to expect, man. You can't just think preaching this gospel is going to be about you being comfortable, you not seeing the days of darkness, the days of persecution, Jacob's trouble, breakdown of society, violence, and all that stuff. MOTB, World War III. You have to be able to get through all of those calamities, all right? So that's the point. So all this tail bearing is just a part of it. It's just one of the initial things you have to deal with and in this ministry. That's at the early stages. It even carries you into the middle stages, man, because people are willing to sell each other out, man, just to have some so-called relief and comfort. So, Abaratiza, you've been edified. Be wary in the spirit, of this world, man. Don't accommodate it, man. Shalom.